Hey everybody, welcome back to Diesel Creek. My name's Matt. Behind me, a Caterpillar 922B model. Me and my buddy Mike are out here today, and we're going to try to get this thing rescued. I just paid $500 for this thing. I don't know a whole lot about it. The fellow that I bought it from told me he was using it back in the spring, and he was pushing up this pile of manure, and it just died, and he never really messed with it. And here it still sits today. Hopefully we're going to be able to get this thing fired back up and drive it onto the trailer. Hopefully, because it's cold. So this, to my knowledge, is the smallest Caterpillar loader ever made. And also the first series, well, first iteration of Caterpillar loaders. So this is a B model, so it's the second version of the 922. The 922 would have been the first model. The B model was upgraded a little bit. I believe it should have a turbo and a few other small differences. Does not look to be in terrible shape, so I'm really hopeful that we're going to be able to get this thing going. Looks like it might be a decent little unit. Up here on the front we have a set of forks that has this bucket kind of chained onto them or whatever for just scooping and pushing manure, I guess. Not really ideal for much of nothing, so hopefully if all goes well and we get this thing back home, I'll probably just put the bucket on here since I have a good set of forks on Fat Alice. I don't need another forked loader. So let's dive on into this thing. I guess we'll start by checking some fluids and seeing what we're lacking and maybe have an idea where to start. It looks pretty full on engine oil. Doesn't smell like fuel or anything. Doesn't look like it's pretty black, but it doesn't look like we're contaminated with water or anything. Probably due for an oil change though. I think this is either transmission or hydraulic oil. Maybe it's hydraulic. This is my first time being around one of these 922s before, so I'm learning with you guys. Well, whatever it is, it's not on the dipstick, so it's low. Tires are runnable. They're a little cracked up, pretty worn, but they're not terrible. They all hold air, so that's good. Here we go, there's a transmission dipstick here. Transmission looks good, looks nice and fresh. That's a bonus. The seat has seen some better days, but not the worst one I've ever bought. He said the steering was pretty loose. I don't think he lied. It seems pretty loose. Guess we should check our air cleaner. Well, we're missing our primary filter, but at least we still have a secondary. Theoretically, that should be filtering some. We'll have to change that out and get a good new set of filters for that if all goes well here. So the first thing I'm noticing is that this is apparently not a 922B model. This just must be a straight 922 because there is no turbo on this unit, so therefore it must be the OG model. We've got some pretty ratty looking batteries over here. They look pretty old, pretty tired. Yeah, okay, here we go. This is the metal data plate right here that should tell you all your fluid capacities and service points. And it just says 922. It does not say 922B. So that should be original to the machine. The decals probably not. So somebody repainted it and put some fresh decals on it at some point and didn't get the right ones.
Like the Bondo on the air cleaner.
I saw that. Fuel tank, well, it's got fuel. Looks like it's around 30% full, so that should be plenty to run it. The way he described it, kind of just running out of power and dying, kind of sounds like it may have just starved for fuel somehow, so I think that's probably where we're going to start. We'll just go through and bleed the whole fuel system out, make sure we're getting fuel, and hopefully this thing's going to start. So I guess the first thing we should do is put some battery jumpers on this thing and see if we can at least get it to turn. Make sure the engine's not stuck before we start playing around with the fuel system. All right, let me bump the key and see what we got. Yep, things got hot in there. I think we just melted that bridge connection too. Dang it. All right, we got it connected a different way. Let's try it again here. Contact. Well, she's not real enthused about turning. I don't know whether that's saying something for the starter or for my jump pack. All right, so we rigged up some better batteries here for a better connection. The jump pack wasn't happy, so go ahead and bump it now.
Contact.
Much better, much better. So before we run down our batteries, let's go ahead and just start checking our fuel system here. There's a primer plunger up here and a primer bleeder for the fuel filter tower up here. So we'll loosen the bleeder up. Maybe the plunger will work. Oh, there we go. Should be able to just keep pumping this up and fuel should start dribbling out of here. Starting to get some fuel now. She was empty. There we go. We got fuel coming out the bottom. So this actually has like a bypass pipe on it. I didn't realize it's pumping out down here. So we got fuel coming out down there. So there we go. We got fuel coming out of our bypass. Tighten that bleeder back up and pump this thing until it gets hard, and then we should have fuel pressure. So as best we can tell, we have fuel pressure now. I don't think the gauge up there works, and it's pretty rough looking, but fuel primer got firm after pumping it for a while, so I locked that back down. Like I said, it's cold out here and we don't have unlimited amount of battery power, so we're going to coax this thing along. We're going to have to give it probably a little bit of ether to fire up, otherwise we could be sitting here cranking for a while before we get any popping going on. So normally that's not my preferred route, but under these circumstances we need to get this thing running pretty quickly here. I could just winch it onto the trailer if we couldn't get it running, but the bucket is really full. That's a lot of scooping, so I'm hoping we can get this thing fired up and dump that bucket out before we can just drive it on the trailer would be ideal. So let me find a good place to shoot some ether, and we're going to give this a go. Contact. Yet that was running solely on ether. We'll give her again here. All right, so we're getting a little bit of fuel here. All right, so the engine does run. You guys heard it fire up there. Trouble is, it was only running, well, not only running, I'd say it was running 80% on ether. It took off just a little bit on the fuel, but not enough to keep her going. So we're trying to troubleshoot where our fuel system is going wrong. So with a diesel, it's not like a gas engine. You have to have a completely closed and sealed pressurized fuel system from the fuel tank all the way to the injectors. If you get any air in there, it will not run. What Mike's saying right now, we have a pre-filter down here, and then it comes up through a lift pump and then goes into your fuel filter tower up here. This is your primary filters before it goes into the injection pump. We're going to take off this line down here before it gets to the lift pump, or actually that bleeder might be the better thing. We can pressurize the fuel tank with the air compressor and try to blow out fuel, make sure we're getting fuel up to our filter housing. All right, so we got our air compressor going. This fuel tank cap is lending itself to pressurization really well. There's a vent there that keeps the fuel tank from becoming under a vacuum. So we can just stick our air nozzle right in there, and that pressurizes the fuel tank. There we go. We got good stream back there, so that's not the issue. A little more pressurization test. Coming out. There we go. Yeah, it looked like we got a good bit of air out of it that time. Let's go ahead and try to crank this thing up again and see what happens. All right, so we pressurized the whole system with the air compressor this time. I think I liked our results a little bit better. Let's see what happens now. Can I get a contact?
Contact.
That was no ether. Hold that thing flat and wide open. Give her. You holding it? That was still wide open? Yeah, baby! She is running under her own power. We're going to try and get this bucket dumped out very quickly. Beautiful. Engine sounds good too. Yeah, let's try and pick that up. I'm going to have to rechain the bucket. We got movement. There we go. Yeah, baby. Let's see if this thing is going to move now. Got air pressure. I hear some air in the air system. It was trying. So the guy I bought it from told me there was something goofy with the driveline system. He was saying it would either work in four-wheel drive or two-wheel drive. He couldn't remember which, but it wouldn't move in the other. So it was one or the other, but it wouldn't move. There we go. So the torque converter might be a little weak, but it is cold. Yeah, buddy. All right, we got to throw another chain on this bucket, and then we should be able to dump that off. It's got low fuel pressure at idle. I think we've got a pretty good machine here, guys. Sweet. The brakes even work. Oh, the bucket's empty. And the bucket is wore out. The cutting edge is missing off of it, and it's wore way back into the mold board. But I think it'll still work out for this old unit. I don't want to jinx ourselves, but that was almost too easy. Hopefully she can just load herself right up now. It seems to move decently. Something's definitely wrong with the steering. All right, we are all chained down. Everything looks good. Guess we're southbound and down. I don't know how to shut this off. There we go. I guess to kill it, you just lift up on the pedal. I am not going to complain at all about this for 500 bucks. I think she's a gem. All right, well, we made it back home here to the shop. That could not have gone better yesterday. Pretty easy fix. Loaded itself onto the trailer, no winching involved, no catastrophic breakdowns. It almost seems too easy. So I think we got a good purchase here, but there's plenty of things left to be determined in that. I did notice yesterday trying to put it onto the trailer that the steering is very tough. Like the wheels turn a little bit and then they pretty much lock up, and you got to really work to get anything more out of them. So something's not jiving right there, and I'm sure we're going to uncover a myriad of other issues as we get into this thing. But the good news is it runs great, and I think it's going to be worth fixing. I was originally planning on fixing up that 3850 International that I brought home over last summer, but I'm thinking this one might have a leg up on that guy. So might be holding on to this one, kicking the other one down the road. We will see. Let's get this thing unchained and see if it's going to fire back up since it's sat overnight. All right, well, it's time for the moment of truth. Let's see how this thing is going to cold start today. All right, I'm going to run the glow plugs a little bit, see what that does. I have no idea if they were functioning or not. We did not even try them yesterday. When we got there yesterday, there was a couple of the wires off of the glow plugs, so not a great sign, but yeah. All right, there's about 20 seconds of glow plugs. Let's give her a go. Contact. This thing runs excellent. That thing cold starts better than half of my good stuff. Let's let it warm up for a minute and we'll get this thing off the trailer. Tell you what, this sucker has some lift height. This is only slightly bigger than the 3850, and this lifts quite a bit higher, I'd say, just going off of memory. Is it just me, or do you guys see it too? Something with that wheel is like towed in at the top. I don't know if there's like a ball joint or a kingpin or something that's bad on there. Something doesn't seem quite right. right, guys, we got us a running, driving, operating Caterpillar loader for $500, and I don't think that's too bad of a deal. That being said, she's got lots of flaws. First major issue, I think I addressed already earlier in the video a couple times, is the steering. You cannot drive this thing around. It's so loose that once you make a little bit of a turn and you kind of need to correct to go back the other way, you've got to go so far that by that time you get there to actually correct, you're already veered off course and it's over with. There's a lot of driving a little bit, backing up, and then straightening the wheels to where you need to go and then going forward again. It's not a straightforward operation like it should be. So it's loose, which is the part of the problem, but the major problem with the steering is that you just can't turn the thing. It goes so far and then it's like something binds up in the steering box or in the drag links or something, and you cannot execute a turn to save your life. It's worse one direction than the other, so I kind of think that it's in the steering box, but we're gonna have to dive into that. The other issue we have with this unit is the attachment. As you can see by these stumpy, cut off, re-welded, goofy forks here, these aren't good for much of nothing. They're not adjustable. The spacing of the forks is not adjustable side to side. You're stuck with that exact spread of the forks, first of all, so that's no good. Second of all, they're like 3 feet long. They were 6 feet long. If you look there, you can tell that they're like doubled up, and that's because they cut 6-foot forks in half, took the pieces, laid them back on top, and then welded them on there. I have no idea why someone would do that, but that appears to be what they did. And the other non-starter is the bucket thing. You know, you spear the bucket with the forks and then chain it onto this frame. That's not really an effective way to use a bucket. You can't dig with it because you have these forks underneath the bucket holding the bucket up off the grade. I could go on for an hour about how that's not going to help you do much of anything. It works for a wheelbarrow and that's about it. So other than that, I really can't complain too much. We need to repair some battery connections up here. We're missing some covers for the battery box and whatnot. There's supposed to be a bunch of engine covers too back there to obviously cover up the engine, but they're missing, as most of these loaders are at this point in their lives. I did not figure out what year this thing is exactly yet, but I'm pretty sure it's from the early 60s. There might also be something goofy going on in the transfer case for the 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive. So your forward and reverse is on your steering column here. One of these levers next to the seat is a low-high. I think it's this one, is your high-low range. And then this one, I think it is, switches you between 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive. Now, that kind of ties into our steering issue, I think, somehow or another, because when I was fiddling with this, one of the times I was driving it around here, it seemed like I was able to click it into something, and then the steering worked a heck of a lot better, and then it kicked out of that spot, whatever that sweet spot was. I couldn't get it back in there, and the steering went back to being terrible. So I got the manuals for this machine. We're gonna dive into some drawings and try to figure out what exactly is going on in there and why 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive would have anything to do with the steering. But outside all that, guys, I'd say she's pretty cherry. I know I get a lot of flack in the comments for just buying more and more stuff, but when a $500 Caterpillar loader comes your way, there's just no way this guy's ever going to say no to that. So as frustrating as that may be for you guys, I appreciate you hanging in there. The other projects that you are looking forward to seeing are all happening as well. They just move at a bit slower pace. I kind of got that new toy thing, you know, like a kid gets a new toy and you're just like, ooh, shiny for a little while. That's me with equipment. Anyways, guys, thanks for being patient. I think that's going to wrap this one up for now. In the next video, we're going to get into servicing this thing and looking into all those issues I just mentioned here. If you guys are looking forward to that, drop a comment down below. Let me know. If you like this video, do me a big favor and hit that thumbs up button. It really helps out the channel. It doesn't cost you guys a dime. If you would like to help support the channel in a little more direct fashion, head on over to dieselcreek.com, pick yourself up some sweet swag over there. And we just got new hoodies in the store. If you guys can see, yours will arrive much less dirty than this one. But these are our new heavyweight hoodie line. They fit a little bit more like a Carhartt. I was not real thrilled with the last hoodies that we had. Nobody was complaining to me, but I personally didn't like them. So out with those. We got some new ones in, and I'm a big, big fan of these ones. So if you guys want to pick yourself up a heavyweight hoodie, they're available now. That's dieselcreek.com. Link is always down in the description. So until the next time, guys, thanks for watching. I'll catch you later.